What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to discuss my feelings on the 2-2-2 role lock that will be enforced during Stage 4 of the Overwatch League. I'm sure that 99% of you watching this video already knew about this, but for any of you who are somehow not already aware of this, here's a quick breakdown of the announcement made during Thursday night's Watchpoint Stage 4 preview show and on the Overwatch League's website. At the start of Stage 4, which begins on Thursday, July 25th, the Overwatch League will officially enforce a 2-2-2 role lock for all games played on stage. In other words, every composition will have to consist of 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. Oh, and as a quick editor's note, I just wanted to let you guys know that a role lock will also be in this year's World Cup and during the Season 2 playoffs for contenders. But anyway, the role lock will be in place for every single map of every single game. So basically, if you're on DPS, then you're stuck on it. You can only play heroes that fall under that category and cannot switch onto tank or healer until the map has been completed. It pretty much works the same way as a player substitution since the process can only happen between maps. Another thing that is going to be affected by the role lock is the seating arrangement on stage. Here's what Blizzard had to say about this. To make it easier to identify roles as a viewer, players will be seated on stage by their roles and will be ordered that way in the game's on-screen user interface. From left to right, when the viewer is facing the stage, players will sit in order of damage, tank, support. If players change roles, they will also move into the seats for those roles. End quote. It should also be noted that all 20 teams closely discussed these changes with the league, which means that every single team very willingly agreed to these terms. And if you are worried about teams not having enough time to prepare and make the transition from GOATs to DPS, then don't be. Every single team and all of their players were informed of these changes back in early June, so they've had plenty of time to practice. There's some other interesting and useful info that they go over in the article regarding Stage 4 on the Overwatch League's website, but it doesn't really have to do with what I wanted to discuss in this video, so if you want to read up on everything we know about as of this video, then click on the link to the article I left in the description. Now we are officially at the part of the video where I wanted to voice my opinion on all of this, because after all, this is a groundbreaking change. It's honestly a lot to take in. And I suppose I should start by saying farewell to GOAT. After what seems like a million failed nerfs, the composition is now banned from being used because of its overwhelming power. It's been a wild ride, GOATs, but you are now officially dead. And honestly, good riddance. When the comp was relatively new, I honestly didn't mind it. I enjoyed watching previous triple tank metas, so I kind of enjoyed it for a short while, but after seeing it over and over again in the World Cup and in Stage 1 of the Overwatch League, it had gotten to the point where the gameplay was getting a little stale. Don't get me wrong, I've still very much enjoyed watching the Overwatch League even after Stage 1, but it kind of sucked knowing that GOATs would continue to be the strongest comp in the game by far up until around Stage 3. But even then, Sombra GOATs was still really amazing, and if it weren't for the Shanghai Dragons, then a strong GOATs team likely still would have stood atop the rest of the league again by the time stage playoffs were over. So yeah, it's been one hell of a ride, GOATs, but it's time to say goodbye. As to how I feel about the role lock itself, well, to be honest, I'm kind of conflicted. I have some reasons that make me both like and dislike the idea of it being implemented into the Overwatch League. On one hand, 2-2-2 gives us a well-needed meta change. GOATs, as I said earlier, was starting to get really stale. This change would be very beneficial from a viewer standpoint. While viewership still has been pretty good, I'd say, I'm sure that a lot of people will start watching again now that they know they get to see consistent DPS play. A 2-2-2 role lock, in my opinion, also helps people who are new to the game feel less confused. GOATs is crazy chaotic. There's usually so much going on at once, so it can kind of feel overwhelming to watch if you're still relatively new to the game. You already have no idea what's going on as it is, so the crazy brawls that happen in the GOATs mirror match is only going to make it worse. Having DPS involved in the mix will definitely improve viewer experience. Whether you are experienced or are seeing the game for the very first time, a majority of people enjoy watching high-level mechanical skill. It's fun for the spectator to watch somebody who pops off on heroes who require tremendous amounts of mechanical skill, such as Widowmaker. Another positive about 2-2-2 is that we will likely see a lot of players who have been stuck on the bench get some time on stage. Fan favorites on DPS who had no place in the GOATs meta, such as Pine, Soon, Shadowburn, Taimu, Flower, Striker, and Architect, could very well be back on the Overwatch League stage in the upcoming weeks. We'll also likely see the return of some Diva players who got benched in favor of a third DPS to play Sombra like Space or Meko. One of the other pluses that comes with a role lock is that many of the players in the league will be more content with the game. I'm sure that all, if not most, of the DPS players in the Overwatch League who have been stuck playing either Zarya or Brig will be overjoyed to actually be on heroes who fall under the role. I'm sure that the Philadelphia Fusion and London Spitfire in particular are very thrilled about being able to once again play some stuff that is more in their comfort zone. And that's always a great thing to have. If your players are happy, then the league will be in a better place. Many players in the Overwatch League simply did not enjoy playing GOATs. It's a common fact. If your players are happy, then they are more likely to stay in the league. If GOAT stuck around, then I fear that some players may have retired due to them not enjoying the game anymore. I feel that a majority of the league will be in a much better mental state because of this change. But while all of this is really good, there are a few things that bother me about a role lock in the Overwatch League. Some may say I'm nitpicking here a bit, but I like to express my honest opinion about things. While I do believe that a 2-2-2 role lock will be good for the Overwatch League, I'm a little frustrated that we won't be able to see maximum creativity with team comps. Obviously, we don't want GOATs anymore, but now there's no more triple DPS. So that triple DPS Wrecking Ball comp the Dragons ran in the playoffs is now illegal. You will never see that again unless the lock gets removed. This also means any sort of non-GOATs multi-tank composition we've seen in the past will also never be played anymore. Slambulance and triple tank bunker with a Mercy will not be seeing the light of day either. Same can be said for the crazy fun Junkertown comps where the Flex support plays Roadhog or Bastion. All of that is now gone. That's kind of my biggest issue with a role lock. Teams don't have free reign to play whatever they want. There definitely still will be tactical hero swaps like in the past, but we won't be able to see it at its maximum potential anymore. Now we're in a situation where you can't just have your DPS player swap over to Roadhog or Break in order to counter a Pharah or Tracer, let's say. If you want those heroes, then your tanks and supports are going to have to play them instead. But then again, this might not be as big as a problem as I think. Teams could still very well be super creative with their compositions. In fact, having certain limitations may actually help teams be even more creative. Some teams may start experimenting with unusual comps. Perhaps some teams break out 2 shield tanks like we saw the Gladiators often do when they ran any sort of Bastion bunker comp. Maybe even some teams break out some new Symmetra strats. There's so many possibilities. I'm a firm believer that Pro Overwatch is at its best when you can find success with more than just 1 or 2 compositions. That's part of the reason why I enjoyed Stage 3 so much. Sure, Somber Goats proved to be the strongest comp, but we also saw teams use things such as Normal Goats, Wrecking Ball with triple DPS, Orisa double sniper, Slambulance, and even some Baptiste Goats. It wasn't like in Stage 1 or 2 where it was all about Goats and Goats only. I pray that a 2-2-2 lock doesn't change this. I sincerely hope that we still see a vast variety of comps. But with how strong Bunker is right now, I'm a little concerned that we're pretty much only going to see comps revolving around Orisa. Hopefully some of the super creative teams like the Hunters or Dragons still find ways to find success with a Wrecking Ball or something like that. In my opinion, it would really suck if Orisa Hog was all we ever got to see on the stage. Don't get me wrong, I do think these types of comps could be a lot of fun to watch, but Bunker is something that can get stale really quickly. It's basically just pull, hook, with some nice plays from the DPS in between. One other small issue I have with a role lock is that whole seat switching thing. I know that it's helpful and convenient for the sake of the viewers and casters to have every team sit their players in pretty much the same order, but this kind of seems like a dumb inconvenience for the players, does it not? Imagine getting comfortable with where you are on stage just to move to a different seat while having to move over all of your equipment. Again, I know I may be nitpicking a little here, but this change kind of just seems like a minor annoyance for the players. I feel bad for the starting flex players who are good at multiple roles. They may find themselves having to deal with the hassle of switching seats multiple times during games. And I think that pretty much covers every opinion I currently have on the role lock being enforced during Stage 4. I do think there's a lot more good than bad that comes with implementing something like this. I, for one, am going to try supporting this decision, even if there are a few things that I dislike about it. Whether you love or hate the role lock, I encourage everybody watching this video to give it some time before giving your final judgment. Let's all give it a chance, because after all, my opinion and your opinion on it could significantly change after giving it some time. And with that being said, that is going to wrap up my initial reaction on the 2-2-2 role lock coming to the Overwatch League. What are your opinions on the upcoming role lock? Let me know down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this content, then be sure to like and subscribe. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.